Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reedy with Future Pastimes, and I'm a designer on the expansions for the classic Dune board game published by Gale Force 9. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about a powerful alliance between two specific factions. And these two factions are powerful because of their card exchange abilities. So I call this the exchange faction. And it exists between Chom and Richess. Now, these are two of the factions from the second expansion, which I helped design, the Chom and Richess expansion. And their power comes from their abilities to swap cards, and in particular, some of the Richess special treachery cards. So I'm going to cover those cards, but before I do, let me talk a little bit about the two factions and why their exchange abilities are so powerful. So starting with Chom. Chom is an economic faction, and that is because every turn at the Chom charity phase, they have a charity advantage where they're going to collect 2 spice from the bank for each faction that's in the game. So in a 6-player game, that's 12 spice. Now, any faction that is collecting Chom charity is going to be paid by Chom from their spice reserves. So if Bene Gesserit are in a game in advance, they get two Chom charity every turn, irrespective of how much spice they have. So that is going to constantly eat into Chom's income, as well as anybody else who collects 1 or 2 spice from Chom. But most of the time, Chom's getting a pretty good chunk of spice every turn as an income, and that just keeps accumulating. Additionally, they do have their inflation token, which has a double charity side and a cancel charity side, which they can place on the Chom charity spice during the Mentat pause for the next turn, which means that they'll have that turn. They could be collecting up to 24 spice, or they could be canceling Chom charity for everybody. And I like to play this on a turn when I know that multiple players are planning to collect Chom charity, so that I can make them really dirt poor for yet another turn and try to take advantage of their inability to buy cards or to ship or to do whatever. But whichever side you choose, at the end of that turn, it will flip to its opposite side, and then it's removed from the game after that. So you get a one-shot on this, which is normally when you're going to go for the win or go after a lot of spice to counter the effects of having no income on the following turn. And you can do it in either order, so that's up to you. But that income is going to make it very easy for Richess to buy treachery cards. Now, Richess, they have their auction, their bidding advantages. They have to sell 1 of their 10 Richess treachery cards every turn. So they're selling those cards, and that is ostensibly for them to have an income as well. They can get some spice using a couple of different auction methods to try to get as much as they can for them. But they are allowed to buy these cards as well. And with an economic ally like Chom, it's much easier for them to buy their own cards. And that is important because of their alliance abilities. So the Chom alliance ability is 2 things. One of them is they can pay for their ally to spice style in battles. But the other one is that they are allowed to trade treachery cards. So as long as it's a 2-way exchange, each player is giving and receiving a card. This is a way for Chom to give their ally a useful treachery card and to gain a treachery card. And because Chom has all of their special effects with worthless cards, if their ally has a worthless card, it's good to funnel those cards up to Chom, who can actually use them or even sell them to get spice. So that's a big deal, because it means that if Chom helps Richess buy a special treachery card, they can then trade it, and now Chom has that card. And of course, nobody else knows for sure which cards they have traded, so maybe they traded the card that Richess just bought, maybe they didn't. The other thing is that the Richess, they also have a double alliance effect, one of which is they can use their no-field tokens to ship their allies' forces down cheaply. So for the cost of shipping 1 force, they can use the no-field token to ship 3 or 5 forces, or just use the 0 as a decoy. And that's an important thing, because if Richess is planning they want to ship 5 forces down, and their ally is going first in turn order, if they don't need to ship down, they can say, let's use the 0 no-field token so that we can ship. And that means that the 0 no-field token goes face up in front of Richess's shield, allowing them to use either of their other tokens to ship down. So either the 3 or the 5, and it's their option, and it'll be face down, so the other factions won't know for sure if Rich S has shipped 3 or 5. So the ally frees up Rich S's ability to have more control over which token they're going to use. But the other alliance advantage that Rich S has is that if they have a special Rich S treachery card in their hand, they can just give it to their ally. So this is doubly impactful. Every time Rich S buys one of their own treachery cards, they can just give it to their ally, or if it's Chom as their ally, they can trade those cards. And again, that's a big deal. So let's look at 4 cards in particular that make this an especially effective alliance. So let's start right off with Stoneburner. So Stoneburner, it can be a very powerful weapon in a battle. So here's how it works. Is you choose which after battle plans are revealed. Either both leaders are killed, or both leaders in this battle do not count their strength if they otherwise survived. So this is effective if you're going to win the battle and you can kill both leaders for spice income. That's a big deal. And if you don't want your leader to die, you have the ability to just say neither leader is going to count for it. But it goes on. In either case, the player with the higher number of undialed force tokens wins the battle. Dialed forces are lost normally, discard after use. So you bring in a lot of forces, but you don't dial very high, and that's how you win. So the thing about the Stoneburner, of course, is that when it is sold, it's sold face up. So players will know that it has been bought. But if Rich S buys it, maybe Rich S has it, maybe Rich S doesn't have it, and they might give it away, they might trade it away, and that's important. You want to you get yourself in a position where you know that people know that this is out there, but you want them to not be sure where it is, especially if you have another weapon. So you want to get yourself in a situation where they don't know if you're using the Stoneburner or not, and you're counting on them to make a critical error. So that can be a very effective weapon. And there are some situations, depending on how many forces you've brought in, that you can win that battle in either way. Now, we've got the Stoneburner, which is great. Now let's take a look at the next one. This is the Null Entropy box. And the way this one works is anytime, pay 2 spice to the spice bank, then take the treachery card discard pile and secretly search it for any card other than this card. Add it to your hand, shuffle the discard pile afterward, and place this card on top. So this lets you get any card you want out of the discard pile, but nobody knows exactly which card you took, and then this is going to go on the top. So even if the card that you took was on the top, no one's going to know for sure where it is. And searching the discard pile is not allowed. So you are secretly getting something. And so if you have used the Stoneburner, the Null Entropy box lets you get it back. But even better is if, let's say, the Laser Gun or Artillery Strike or the Poison Blade is in there. Well, now you've got that. Or they don't know what you've got because there's a couple of good things that you might have picked up. Now let's look at another element here, and that is Samuda Drug. And the way this card works is take a treachery card immediately after another player discards it and add it to your hand. Well, let's imagine that one of us has just used the Stoneburner, but the other ally has Samuda Drug. Well, now they can pick it up. Or one player in the alliance just used Null Entropy box, but the other player has Samuda Drug, and they've just picked that one up. So that's very powerful as well. This is potentially 3 uses of the Stoneburner, or another really powerful weapon or other card. Like, for instance, Kurama. So the Rich S Treachery deck does have a Kurama card that they can sell. And the Kurama ability for Rich S, their once per game Kurama ability, is that they can spend 2 spice to buy any card from their Rich S Treachery card pile secretly. So if they haven't sold Stoneburner, maybe they just use the Kurama card to buy Stoneburner for themselves for 2 spice. And then they can give it to their ally or trade with their ally. Maybe they've already got the Stoneburner and they're going to use the Kurama to buy the Mirror Weapon. The Mirror Weapon is a way for them to really confound the players because nobody knows if they've got it or not. So this is a very effective alliance, especially if you've got Ixians in the game who have some card knowledge, or tradies who definitely know who's buying what and where it is. Well, now they don't really know where these things are, and that can be very effectively used against them. So Choman Richess can be a very formidable alliance, and I definitely recommend that if you are one of these factions in a game with the other faction, that you consider joining up. And then maybe if you're Richess, you think about, I'm not going to be selling these cards until the alliance phase happens, because you can control which cards you sell in which order. Certain other cards you can still definitely get a fair amount of spice for when you sell them. Residual Poison can sometimes be a very effective card, especially if you've got Harkonnen in the game. They like to wipe out some other players. And then the Ornithopter can fetch you a good price, the Portable Snooper. So you have some options there before you have to sell the big guns in order to make a profit. And this is why I enjoy playing these factions, because you've got these tools that, if you are clever and considerate about how you use them, they can be very effective. So that's it for this one. If you have seen this alliance in a game, or have seen other effective ways that these ally advantages have been leveraged, let me know in the comments. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.